Dr. Sarah Chen had been working the night shift at the Palomar Observatory for 3 years, but she had never seen anything like what began happening on that October evening when the Milky Way started to die. It started subtly, as cosmic horrors always do with a single star in the constellation, Draco simply ceasing to exist between her 11:47 p.m. observation and her midnight check, not exploding or dimming, but vanishing, as though it had been carefully erased from reality's canvas. Sarah initially dismissed it as equipment malfunction, perhaps a speck of dust on the lens or a glitch in the CCD sensors, but when she cross-referenced with 3 other observatories across the globe, they all confirmed the same impossible observation. HD 163588, a perfectly ordinary K-type star approximately 127 light-years away, had simply stopped being. Over the next 4 hours, 17 more stars followed suit, disappearing from the night sky in what appeared to be a random pattern, until Sarah began plotting their positions on a 3-dimensional galactic map and realized with mounting dread that the extinctions were anything but random. The missing stars formed a crude but unmistakable arrow pointing directly toward the constellation Sagittarius, toward the galactic core, and as she traced the trajectory with trembling fingers across her computer screen, she understood that something was spelling out a message in the language of vanished suns. By dawn, 43 stars had been systematically deleted from existence, their light snuffed out not by natural stellar death but by something that possessed the power to reach across the vast emptiness of space and simply unmake them. Sarah called in sick the next day, unable to face the possibility of what she might observe when darkness fell again, but found herself returning to her apartment's telescope, a modest 8-inch reflector that had inspired her love of astronomy as a child, now transformed into an instrument of existential terror. The pattern continued with mechanical precision. Each night, more stars disappeared, and the message they spelled became clearer with each extinction event. The arrow had become a series of numbers, coordinates written in the universal language of mathematics, and when Sarah finally gathered the courage to calculate their meaning, her blood turned to ice in her veins. The coordinates were not describing a location within our galaxy, nor even within our local group of galaxies, but were instead providing directions to Earth from a vantage point that should not have been possible, somewhere outside the Milky Way entirely, as though something vast and incomprehensible was observing our entire galaxy from the cosmic void and had decided to send us a message by systematically destroying the stars themselves. The implications hit her like a physical blow. Whatever intelligence was behind this display possessed technology or power so far beyond human comprehension that it could observe individual solar systems from intergalactic distances, could somehow extinguish stars at will across thousands of light-years, and worst of all, knew exactly where Earth was located in the vast cosmic ocean. Sarah tried to rationalize what she was witnessing, to find some natural explanation for the phenomenon. But each night brought fresh evidence that something impossibly ancient and powerful had turned its attention toward humanity. The coordinates were becoming more precise, narrowing down from galactic quadrants to stellar neighborhoods, from stellar neighborhoods to individual solar systems, and Sarah realized with growing horror that the message was not yet complete. On the 7th night, as she watched another cluster of stars blink out of existence in perfect formation, spelling out Earth's precise coordinates down to its orbital path around the Sun, Sarah understood that this was not a greeting but a targeting system, something that existed on a scale that dwarfed human imagination, something that could casually extinguish stars as a human might snuff out candles, had located our tiny blue world and was announcing its discovery to whatever other cosmic intelligences might be watching. The methodical precision of the extinction suggested that this entity was not driven by malice, but by something far more terrifying, complete indifference to the countless civilizations that might have called those dead stars home. Each vanished sun potentially represented billions of years of planetary evolution, perhaps entire species that had risen to consciousness only to be casually erased as part of some incomprehensible cosmic communication. Sarah began to understand why no other astronomer had reported the phenomenon. The human mind was not equipped to process the true scale of what was happening, and most observers would rationalize the disappearances as equipment failure, atmospheric interference, or simple oversight, rather than accept the reality that something unimaginably vast was using their galaxy as a message board. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating regular meals, spending every moment of darkness hunched over her telescope or poring over astronomical databases, tracking the systematic destruction of stars across the night sky. The pattern was accelerating now, with dozens of stars disappearing each night, and Sarah realized that the message was approaching its conclusion. On the 10th night, as she watched the final coordinates lock into place with the precision of a cosmic crosshair, Sarah understood that Earth had been not just located but marked, tagged by something that existed on scales beyond human comprehension. The implications were too vast for her mind to fully grasp. If this intelligence could casually destroy stars to send messages, what might it do to a single planet once it had finished announcing its discovery? She tried to contact other observatories, other astronomers who might have witnessed the same phenomenon, but found herself unable to articulate what she had seen without sounding completely insane. How could she explain that something was erasing stars to spell out Earth's address in the cosmic void? How could she convey the existential terror of realizing that humanity existed entirely at the sufferance of intelligences so vast that they could rearrange the night sky itself? The final star disappeared on the 11th night, completing a set of coordinates so precise they could guide something to Earth's exact position in its orbit around the Sun at any given moment. Sarah sat in her darkened apartment, staring up at a night sky that had been forever altered, knowing that somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, something ancient and incomprehensible had finished taking humanity's cosmic measurements. The stars that remained seemed different now, no longer distant suns but potential targets for whatever entity had announced its awareness of Earth's existence. Sarah understood that she was probably the only human being who fully grasped what had occurred, the only person who had witnessed the systematic conversion of their galaxy into a targeting system, and the weight of that knowledge pressed down upon her like the crushing gravity of a black hole. She continued her observations, no longer as an astronomer seeking knowledge but as a sentinel watching for signs of what might come next, knowing that the universe had revealed itself to be far stranger and more terrifying than humanity had ever imagined, a place where entire civilizations could be erased as casually as words written in sand, where Earth existed as little more than a coordinate in someone else's vast and alien calculations.